Hello, I'm Kim DeVore.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ross Becker. Well, in the Watergate scandal, there was a so-called smoking gun. Tonight, the confirmation of Judge Clarence Thomas to the United States Supreme Court could be influenced by a smoking joint, literally. A White House statement tonight reveals that Judge Thomas took several puffs on a marijuana cigarette while at Holy Cross College, and perhaps, he says, once during his years at Yale Law School. The statement goes on to say that Thomas believes it was a mistake and it was never repeated. Thomas admitted his marijuana use to the FBI during a background check when he was nominated to the U.S. Court of Appeals in 1989. Now, you may remember the hopes of another Supreme Court nominee went up in marijuana smoke. In 1987, then President Reagan was forced to withdraw Judge Douglas Ginsburg as his nominee for the High Court after he admitted using marijuana while he was a law school professor. Tonight, the White House is calling the marijuana revelations about Judge Thomas, quote, inconsequential.
And we have late word on this story tonight. News 13 has learned that Los Angeles Police Department has grounded all 18 of its helicopters until sometime later tomorrow. Now, that includes its A-Star and Bell Ranger choppers. We've been told it's a technical problem, not mechanical or fuel-related. We have learned from the Sheriff's Department that it is a mechanical problem. Their choppers are on standby tonight to assist the LAPD. And as you remember, there was an LAPD crash of a helicopter last month.
Okay, our other major story tonight, South Africa is off the hook. That nation's punishment for years of apartheid is over as far as the United States is concerned, with President Bush today lifting economic and political sanctions. Among other things, that means now that U.S. companies can buy things from and sell things to South African companies once again. Now is the time for this, Bush says, because the South African government is making considerable progress toward racial equality. That's his opinion, but critics accuse him of giving in too soon.
That lifting the sanctions at this time is the right thing to do in order to encourage continued change in his country, to help provide a more stable and dynamic economy in which the blacks of South Africa can participate.
South African blacks fighting for equality led to a 1986 U.S. congressional order for sanctions until certain conditions are met. Bush claims South Africa has lived up to those conditions. There are 5 of them. That the white minority government have good faith talks with black leaders working toward an integrated government. That all political parties be legalized. That the state of emergency be lifted. That most apartheid laws be repealed. And that political prisoners be released. The right to vote for blacks was not part of the congressional demand. Bush says the conditions are met. Still, some members of Congress are not happy with the president.
Clearly, the purpose of the act has not been met as apartheid continues and the black majority of South Africans cannot vote and cannot hold office. None of the conditions of the act have been met in both the letter and the spirit of the law.
It's not good for the country. We can do better. Racial tension is too dangerous to exploit and too important to ignore.
The president is opening the door for American companies to resume business in South Africa after a 5-year ban. But several top U.S. corporations say the lifting of sanctions probably won't lure them back. Meantime, the president says he expects more progress toward the goal of reaching total racial equality in South Africa.
I think now that our role should be encouraging consultation between the parties, all of them, Buthelezi, Mandela, de Klerk, to see that the progress made can be built on.
Well, Mr. Bush credits South African President F.W. de Klerk with overseeing the changes, which now is leading to the renewed trade with South Africa. 104 American companies are currently doing business in that country.
Well, Ross, President de Klerk says lifting the sanctions will help revive his nation's economy. But Nelson Mandela has a different response. The leader of the African National Congress says the White House should have waited. He says that when it comes to black South Africans, still a lot of progress that needs to be made.
There are sanctions which have been imposed by cities and states in the United States, and those sanctions still stand. So I am happy about that position, and I hope that the United States government will continue to apply pressure so that the peace process should further momentum, and that the president has promised to do.
Mandela says that the government's failure to stop violence in the black townships is just one example that changes are still needed in his troubled homeland. Our own Bill Press has some very independent thoughts about lifting those sanctions, in particular how today's action relates to the war in the Gulf. And we will hear from Bill a little later in our newscast. The dust is settling after yesterday's unsettling report from the Christopher Commission. Tonight, renewed calls for the resignation of Police Chief Daryl Gates. Minority groups met with reporters on the steps of City Hall today. 3 groups were there: the American Jewish Congress, the Urban League, and the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund. Now, they want Gates gone, and they say his refusal to quit is just plain arrogant.
We're asking the Chief of Police to give us a date certain for his resignation so that we can begin the process of the transition.
The Yiddish word that comes to mind when I think about Daryl Gates is chutzpah. It is a word that is difficult to translate, but it really means unmitigated gall and audacity. I think that Daryl Gates' decision and his announcement yesterday is really the apotheosis of chutzpah.
Well, the coalition calls the Christopher report an indictment of Gates as a manager. It is calling for swift implementation of the report's recommendations and for leadership from the City Council to do just that.
Well, while that was all going on outside City Hall today, things were pretty quiet inside the council chambers. The Associated Press reporting that 7 council members say they'd like Gates to resign, but they are hazy as to when. Only 3 are firmly on the record demanding Gates' immediate resignation, and without a voter-approved change in the city charter, Gates could be around indefinitely. The next scheduled election, when such a question could be put on the ballot, is 11 months away. And as News 13's Pat Anson reports, there seems little political will right now to force the issue.
If the City Council wanted to get rid of Daryl Gates before next June, it could call for a special election as soon as this November to eliminate a section in the city charter that gives the Chief of Police virtual lifetime tenure.
I don't see the council doing that, so I think it would be no sooner than June of next year.
So conceivably, if Daryl Gates wants, legally, he could stay in office until next June.
If Daryl Gates wants, he can legally stay in office a lot longer than that.
Although the Christopher Commission was sharply critical of the LAPD's management and supervision, there continues to be a reluctance among many members of the City Council to blame Daryl Gates or to set a timetable for his departure.
As soon as it can be accomplished.
Nate Holden is an example. Asked repeatedly to identify just how soon Gates should leave, Holden ducked the question. Nate, would you be disappointed if Daryl Gates is still police chief next year?
I would hope that...
Holden never gave a direct answer, and neither did Joan Flores.
I can't say precisely the amount of time, but I think that he should be there for the establishment of the new organization.
So far, only 3 councilmen, along with Mayor Bradley, have called for Gates to resign or retire in the near future.
I think that if Daryl Gates should make his announcement he's going to retire on a given date, August, when he becomes 65, we could do that without any waiting time for a charter amendment.
In downtown Los Angeles, Pat Anson, News 13.
Well, we certainly have heard a lot, but we haven't heard the last from the Christopher Commission. Its 10 members span the political spectrum from liberal to conservative, but their findings were unanimous, and Warren Olney says they were busy today reinforcing their case. Warren.
Trying to turn up the pressure, Ross. Today, the Commission issued a huge volume of transcribed police communications. A lot of it is so vulgar we can't even show it to you. Some commissioners also took issue with what Chief Gates said yesterday. Here's one of Gates' comments and a commissioner's response.
When you consider that we had over 110 lawyers and accountants and other staff members poring over millions of documents, you are going to find problems within the organization, no matter what that organization would be.
That reminds me of someone who goes to court after killing their mother and father and says, "Take pity on me, I'm an orphan."
Tough talk. Backed up today by release of more excerpts from the computer conversations of LAPD officers, 64 pages of them, the so-called MDT messages that officers exchange on their patrol car computers.
What surprised me was the MDT tapes and the extent and boldness with which those remarks were made.
Capture him, beat him, and treat him like dirt. A good night for a killing. Wouldn't you just love it? Nothing but wetbacks, no speaky English, and ugly. There are racial epithets by the dozen, and obscenities we can't even repeat on broadcast TV. There are fantasies of violence against women. Some girl says I beat her head in the cement. Best wife beating I ever saw. Looks like a whipped slave.
I deplore those comments. I think every right-thinking police officer, every professional police officer in this organization deplores those comments also.
It's not like just making an oral statement. You have to physically type in the remarks. The officers knew that they were being monitored. They had no concern with repercussions, no concern about punishment. And it was just a very bold assertion of confidence that nothing will happen.
No one in this commission, when we first convened, expected to find the kinds of remarks and in such numbers on the mobile digital transmissions. That was a great surprise and shocking and disturbing to the commission.
Cantor, of course, is white. Barnes is African-American. But he was chosen for the commission by one of its most conservative members, former Supreme Court Justice John Arguelles, who himself was picked by Darrell Gates. Barnes is a corporate lawyer. He says the other commission members had a lot to learn.
They didn't want to believe it. And I think that is a reason for the surprise, that the commission's extensive data has documented essentially what people in the African-American community have been saying for a long time.
Tomorrow, the drumbeat continues as the commission hands out the testimony of two high-ranking officers who were very outspoken about racism and brutality in their own LAPD. The commissioners say they want action, not a report that sits on the shelf.
Certainly not doing that, is it?
Not yet.
All right, Warren, thanks. Well, up in Oakland, another police brutality case is ending with a prison sentence for at least one officer. In all, 4 officers stand convicted for their violent actions in patrolling a public housing project while working a drug detail. Today, Officer Scott Dwyer was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. The other officers will be sentenced later on.
Here at home, Los Angeles police are putting out the word they need the public's help to capture a dangerous pipe bomb suspect who defiantly calls himself El Bomber. Twice last week, pipe bombs hit Barabee Street in Lincoln Heights. No one was hurt, but one woman was just barely escaping injury. Police think it's the work of 37-year-old Stephen Najera. He calls himself El Bomber. Tattoos on his arm and back confirm the nickname, and detectives say they know the motive.
It appears that there was a neighborhood dispute, and in the neighborhood dispute, some people were injured. Subsequently, he returned and got involved in the neighborhood dispute, and he was stabbed with a screwdriver. And apparently the motive for why he's doing these bombings is to get back at the people he feels are responsible for stabbing him with a screwdriver.
Police say Najera's criminal record for bombing and drug arrests dates back to the 70s. They call him armed and dangerous. Anyone with information is asked to contact the LAPD. In South Central LA, a tragedy in a converted garage today. A 5-year-old girl died in a fire. Officials say it was started by children playing with matches. City firefighters were called to the scene on 115th Street. About 8 this morning, they found a garage converted into a playroom engulfed in flames. 3 children were inside when it broke out. 2 escaped through a door, but a third could not budge the door. She never made it outside.
When 2 Northridge teenagers were shot to death execution style at a Subway sandwich shop last week, their families and friends wondered who could do such a thing. Well, tonight police have a suspect in custody. News 13's Conroy Chino discovered that an offer of a reward led to that arrest.
22-year-old James Robinson was a former employee of the Subway sandwich shop where the murders occurred. Because he knew the business hours, where the safe was located, and had once been accused of stealing money, police believe Robinson had a motive for murder. He was arrested at his Northridge home and booked for the murders of James White and Brian Barry. Robinson worked here for about 5 months. His former boss tells us he was terminated because he was suspected of stealing money from the safe. A couple $100 were found missing, so Robinson and another employee were let go.
It was out of the same safe that was open the night that the robbery happened. You know, and that's a safe that most people wouldn't know existed.
Detectives believe White, also an employee at the sandwich shop, and his friend were killed to prevent them from identifying their assailant.
There appears to be no other reason for that. Why he would brutally kill 2 people can only lead us to conclude that he was trying to cover up the identification.
A gun, which police suspect is the murder weapon, was recovered at Robinson's home. James White and Brian Berry, both 19 and childhood friends, lost their lives over a $600 robbery.
It's an awful, awful experience, something you can't describe, to lose your son.
There is nothing that we can ever do, you or us, to bring your sons back. But we can honestly say that these detectives in this division have done every single conceivable thing that they could. And the suspect is in this jail right now.
A $35,000 reward led to Robinson's arrest. He'll be arraigned on Thursday. In Northridge, Conroy Chino, News 13.
When we come back, jurors caught up to a murder case.
And some detectives, well, they thought they had a handle on a drug case. Instead, they say they bagged some luggage thieves. And we'll go live to a San Fernando City park where a special patrol is guarding against a common enemy.
Why are thousands flocking to the Franchise and Business Opportunities Expo?
I just got tired of working for other people. I wanted to get my own business.
I thought something possibly for myself might be a lot more lucrative and a lot more fun.
Wouldn't everyone like to be their own boss?
Tired of working for someone else? Go to the Franchise and Business Opportunities Expo. Franchises, dealerships, home businesses, investments. You'll find them all this weekend at the Anaheim Convention Center.
I never knew there was that many opportunities out there.
It's terrific.
How many times have you rounded up the kids to get to a sale and thought this is all that's on sale? Well, come to the National Home Appliance Sale at Sears Brand Central. It's just America's largest appliance sale with virtually every major brand on sale. Oh, save $130 on this huge 22 cubic foot Kenmore with ice and water dispenser. Or get this 20 cubic foot Kenmore top mount with free ice maker for just $629.99. Only at Sears Brand Central. But hurry, or get left out in the cold.
What do you call a home that works with you to save energy? A welcome home, with all the energy-saving extras designed right in. When builders work with Edison to create homes that exceed all state energy efficiency standards, this welcome home decal goes in the window. It's your assurance you'll be cozy and save money too. Not just energy, creative energy. Call Edison for welcome home locations near you.
This portion of the news brought to you by your Southern California Ford dealers.
One of my friends has been looking for a wagon. I told her there's really only one to get, the Taurus. She said, I know it's gorgeous, but I think I'd like something a little smaller. And I said, honey, you're in luck. We can shrink the Taurus. Look, it's the brand new Escort wagon. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, poor baby. I'm so sorry.
What's come to be known as the Cotton Club murder case is now in the hands of a jury. 4 people are charged in the brutal killing of Roy Radin. The killing allegedly took place because of a dispute over multi-million-dollar movie deals, including one that financed the ill-fated musical The Cotton Club. Lurid trial testimony focused on missing cash and illegal drugs. The jury began its deliberations today after hearing 10 months of testimony in an L.A. Superior Court. Gang activity has been on the rise in San Fernando in recent weeks, especially around Las Palmas Park. And in order to put a stop to it, the city has activated a new park patrol. News 13's Hal Eisner is live right now with us in Las Palmas, where he says the patrol's already busy at work. Hal?
That's right, Kim. The city of San Fernando has declared war on 2 gangs that have been feuding over this park, Las Palmas Park. Each gang wants this property to be their turf. The problem is, this is the city's turf. This is a city park, and the city doesn't want to lose control of this property. So they started a new program tonight. It's a park patrol program designed to raise police visibility. It comes just a week after an incident in which a family was shot just while strolling through this park. The public outcry had been building, but reached a peak after the shooting last Wednesday night of a 30-year-old woman and her 3 children. Tonight, Enriqueta Duran told me that she really didn't know there was so much gang violence going on at this park. She really doesn't want to come here anymore, but was willing to do so tonight to talk with me about her concerns. She vividly remembers the shooting, and she and her children still have the pellet wounds to remind them of the violence. She also has a message for the gang members who shot her and her family.
I think these people have a life and they should do something better with it. They shouldn't just not waste it. Instead of hurting people, they should improve their lives, do something that will benefit them. Nothing like this, and not hurting other people.
To put the pressure on the two gangs that have been warring over this park, police have increased their visibility. They're stopping known gang members for almost anything. In this case, they wanted to know if this bicycle was stolen. It wasn't, but police feel by questioning the teen riding it, it helped reinforce their message that they're now here to protect this park. Police are also asking residents who live around the park to report anything unusual that they might observe. And Raqueta Duran says she plans to participate in that part of the program.
Yes, I'll help. After what happened to me and my kids, I certainly would not want this to happen to any other mother with her kids. I wouldn't want this to happen again. This will tell the gangs to stay away.
The city of San Fernando says it wants to be a model in dealing with gang problems. And if they've declared war, as they say they have, I suppose there has to be a general. In this case, that general would be Lieutenant Ernest Halkin with the San Fernando Police Department. What exactly is your strategy in addition to this park patrol program that started tonight?
Well, in addition to the high visibility and the regular patrols and the foot patrols, we have filed all appropriate and possible state charges. The alcohol, tobacco, and firearms people from the U.S. government have been asked for assistance also.
You said you wanted to try to even slap federal charges on gang member type crimes?
This is going to be submitted to the United States Attorney's Office for any federal violations that can be found in this investigation.
You think that might scare them just a little bit more and maybe bring them under control?
I think that every legal resource that we can find in this problem is going to be put to use.
Plus, this is a small city, only 2.5 square miles, I guess, so you feel that you have the capability to try to patrol and concentrate on the problem.
Absolutely. We feel very strongly that we should be able to control the environment for the city. The officers here are very determined that we're not going to give a square inch of land to a street gang or anybody else.
Certainly have been no problems tonight. How long will this program last?
This program will last indefinitely. The presence will last until the problem is solved.
Okay, Lieutenant, thank you very much. Usually at this time, the lights go off in this park, but they won't, at least after tonight and indefinitely, and that's to send a message to the gangs, and that message is that the war is underway, and this time the war involves the police. Reporting live from the city of San Fernando from Las Palmas Park, I'm Hal Eisner, News 13. Now back to you, Kim, in the studio.
All right, Hal Eisner, live from San Fernando.
Glendale narcotics detectives thought they were tailing some pretty sneaky drug traffickers, but they soon found out their suspects specialized in a traffic of a different kind, airport traffic, in particular luggage belonging to airport passengers. News 13's Joe Ramirez says that police believe they have an open and shut case, so to speak.
What narcotics officers discovered was an international luggage theft ring that picked up everything from clothing to cameras to credit cards and numerous checks, even championship rings with names like Bubba Smith and Tom Seaver on them, though it's not known if they're authentic. All of it was found in luggage stolen from airports, both here and abroad. Glendale police have 3 people in custody, people they say are pros, who specialize in airports without tight baggage checkout security.
Seemingly they were going for expensive luggage or luggage that probably is assigned to salespersons, or the luggage that does look expensive, which contain expensive items. I mean, most often as people are traveling, they're going to be taking some of their better clothing with them. They are going to possibly be carrying jewelry.
The luggage was found at this apartment house on Chestnut Street in Glendale after 2 persons were arrested at Burbank Airport, Benito Maya, the suspected ringleader, and Jorge Castillo. Police say the men were under surveillance as possible drug dealers when they were spotted picking up a piece of luggage. A 3rd person, Ruth Romero, 32, was arrested later. This is only part of what 100 pieces of luggage yielded. Now airlines are being contacted in hopes of getting the items back to their owners. Police believe the ring has been operating for at least 3 years, and there may be more members. From Glendale, Joe Ramirez, News 13.
Inflation is a sign of the times. The LA Times, the local paper, is going up in price. Beginning July 15th, it'll cost you 35 cents. That's an extra dime. Management says it's all because of some new state sales taxes that are going into effect. The increase will not apply, however, in Orange County and for the San Fernando Valley edition, and that's because those areas are in competition with other local dailies.
Well, it seems as if the moon may be competing for a little attention of its own. Tomorrow, that large chunk of rock in space will eclipse the sun, but tonight it is pulling on the waters off Southern California, giving us unusually high tides. News 13's Larry Atterbury is at Newport Beach right now, where they're getting some flooding from some of those oversized swells out there. Larry?
That's right. The moon is causing a bit of a problem here. Take a look at this. This is Balboa Island. That lifeguard stand over there, ordinarily it's quite a ways from the shore. Right now it is almost in the water. And where these people are standing here on the beach, it was completely underwater about an hour ago. This water has come up almost to where I was standing in one of the highest tides so far, caused by the moon, of course. A new moon that's closer to the Earth, and as the Earth turns, more pressure on that to bring the water toward the shore. Ray Sakis lives just around the way here, and you said it came all the way to the seawall?
Yes, sir, it did. All the way to the seawall, almost into the street. Thank God for the seawall. It didn't go into our house, but otherwise, we're doing all right.
Actually, your boat almost floated away, you said.
I was hoping it wouldn't, and it's upside down, so no, it didn't.
All right, thank you very much. Sure. Let me tell you, we talked to the Harbor Department just a few moments ago, and here's what they had to say about just how high these tides actually are getting.
Tonight was 7.2, and tomorrow it'll be 7.2 also.
Now, is that unusually high for here?
No, about once or twice a year we usually get that high. San Diego's experiencing a lot more than we are.
Now, a little bit earlier, we were about 5 miles north of here. That's up a little farther on the coast, and here's what the situation was there.
Dozens of people lined up outside the Griffith Observatory and hoped the special solar-filtered lenses would not run out before they got to the sales counter. Kumiko Hurazumi, who drove in from Gardena, bought 10, about $40 worth, for the whole family.
I plan to go Hawaii or, Baja California, but my husband said too expensive, so I have to stay here. So this is cheap.
Eclipse fans in Hawaii and Baja California will get the best show tomorrow, a total solar eclipse, when the moon moves directly between the Earth and the sun.
You get a very quick sunset followed immediately by a sunrise. The sky goes black, the stars and planets come out, the temperature drops, winds come up, and you get all of these light and color, and you see the outer atmosphere of the sun, and that is an enormous, spectacular experience.
What Southern Californians will see is a partial eclipse, 69% of the sun being blocked by the moon. And youngsters, as well as adults, have been getting ready for the solar phenomenon.
I've been coming to see here inside to watch special things and to tell us a lot about the sun.
Astronomer John Mosley says no one should ever look at the sun without adequate protection, whether there's an eclipse or not.
What you don't want to use is something you find around the house that looks like it might work because it may not filter out the ultraviolet light. So only use a filter that you buy as a solar filter to look at the sun.
Looking at the sun can damage the eyes, and even with protective lenses, observers should not view the eclipse for more than 10 seconds or so. Huge crowds are expected at the observatory when it opens at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, but Mosley says they'll be ready. About a dozen telescopes will be set up on the lawns outside, and everyone will get a chance to view the eclipse, weather permitting. In Los Angeles, Pat DeSilva, News 13.
And that, of course, was Pat at the Griffith Observatory talking about the eclipse, and not at Seal Beach, where we were going to show you a few of the waves up there. I might say about the eclipse tomorrow, it will begin at about 10:12, then at the very peak of it at 11:48, and it will continue until 12:48 tomorrow. So our moon that we were on just 2 decades ago with man is now causing two things. First, flooding here in Newport Beach, at Balboa Island at least, a couple of streets, and as you can see, much higher on the beach. And of course, tomorrow the eclipse, but be very careful. As Pat pointed out, you have to do exactly, you'll have to be very careful about the sun tomorrow. From Newport Beach, I'm Larry Atterbury live. Now back to you in the studio, Ross and Kim.
All right, Larry. Coming up, a Mexican cardinal has died. We'll have that story for you.
Governor Wilson is peddling his plan to bring business into the classroom. And if people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, well, you can imagine the restrictions they put on paper house living.
A middle-aged bachelor, a mentally troubled brother.
Made this promise when I was 21.
A story of conflict.
What are you yelling for?
I'm not yelling. Am I yelling? I'm not yelling.
A story of hope.
I can be normal here.
A story of caring.
Love you, DJ. You're my brother.
The winner of 5 Emmy Awards, James Garner, James Woods.
You promised, Bobby. You promised Mama. You told her you would always take care of me.
Promise, Thursday at 8 on Channel 13.
Just another phone number, right? Not exactly. This number can mean a beautiful add-on for your home, a new pool, an exotic vacation, or the cash you need to consolidate your bills. You see, Ames arranges quality equity loans for homeowners at competitive rates with no credit hassles. So discover what so many Californians already know. When it comes to borrowing, one number does it all. All right, quit showing off.
In naming the Maxima one of their top cars, Car and Driver, Road and Track, and Automobile wrote close to 10,000 words of praise. But since a picture is worth 1,000 words, read this. The Nissan Maximas start under $20,000. Test drive one today.
Hi, do you know me? I'm Mike Sosha, and this is Howard's. Full service before and after the sale, and always great prices.
Catch all the games on a Sony Trinitron. Pick off this 19-inch remote stereo, just $349, or run down this big 27-inch stereo monitor remote, only $649. Take one home today.
Don't forget Howard's revolving charge. I won't leave home plate without it. Howard's, the people-pleasing team since 1946.
A small commuter plane slammed into a house in Birmingham, Alabama tonight. Federal aviation officials say at least 13 people on board that plane were killed. Another 4 on the ground were injured. The FAA says the twin-engine turboprop went down without warning. A severe thunderstorm had hit the area. Fire officials are searching through the rubble looking for more victims. The pilot, however, survived the fiery crash. He is in critical condition. This is the first crash of a Lake Express airline since it began service 2 years ago.
Mexico today lost one of its 3 living Roman Catholic cardinals. Cardinal Jose Salazar Lopez died in Guadalajara of a heart attack. He was 81. He was appointed by Pope Paul VI back in 1973 and was one of just 5 cardinals in Mexican history. Salazar will be buried in Mexico City in the crypt at the Basilica of Guadalupe. That is Mexico's most sacred shrine. California Governor Pete Wilson was in Los Angeles today asking businesses and corporations to help bail out the state's sinking education system. News 13's Brian Jenkins was with Wilson as he explained the plan that he calls Education Partnership.
Governor Pete Wilson is hoping to breathe some air into the state's choking education system by making an example out of this science class for gifted minority students at Norwood Elementary School. The class is a product paid for by an educational partnership between local businesses and the school, a partnership Governor Wilson is pushing to duplicate.
Schools are going to have to form partnerships with companies. Companies have a very real, selfish interest in seeing to it that there is a workforce that is competent to handle their needs.
Estrella Children's Park, just a few blocks away from Norwood School, is a prime example of what the governor is talking about. It was built by funds generated through a partnership between private businesses and the school. The question is, are the results of that partnership as evident in the classroom?
It can definitely save the school system if it's implemented with the child in mind, with the attempt to give the child empowerment over his own learning.
Governor Wilson also pushed his plan today before the annual meeting of school superintendents held at USC with representatives of 35 states and 4 nations. Some were sympathetic, but others critical of the governor's real priorities.
There has to be a state reserve or a rainy day fund. There has to be long-term planning. In your case, the tax structure, I think, has to be examined. Proposition 13 certainly would have devastating impact if reversed, but it has put a great void in your state funding.
Education has got to get more efficient and give better value for money if we're not going to sell these youngsters short.
But Price and other educators say private partnerships may be the wave of the future in keeping their education budgets from going bust. In South Central Los Angeles, Brian Jenkins, News 13.
Well, in New York, the magic number was 64 for another politician, Mayor David Dinkins. To celebrate the mayor's birthday, he was given presents by the school, 74. Presents had 64 as their theme, 1 for each year, including pies, cake, a tennis outfit. He also received a record. Now, it was supposed to have the title, very fittingly, When I'm 64. The mayor tried not to take offense, however, when he got the wrong record, I Am the Walrus, instead. Well, they don't light many birthday candles at the Cordis residence in Pigeon Grove, Massachusetts these days. That's because the entire place is made out of papers. Selfa Cordis has been living in the house since 1961. Now, her uncle and aunt built it by rolling newspapers tightly together and nailing them and varnishing them. The outside of the house is built from Boston newspapers dated 1922 to 1924. There's also a desk made from papers covering the Charles Lindbergh flight and a cot created from papers saved from the First World War. A lot of history there.
Coming up, President Bush says he is willing to budge just a little on a hotly debated abortion ruling.
And Bill Press says the president should have let the South Africa slap stick.
Meet new Cinnamon Quaker Oat Squares. Cinnamon taste that gives flakes the shakes.
Meet my little brother, Cinnamon Quaker Oat Squares. He's just like me.
But I've got the delicious taste of cinnamon. You mean your toasted whole grain oats plus cinnamon, sprinkled with brown sugar plus cinnamon. And you stay crunchy in milk. Don't forget the cinnamon. 2 kinds of Quaker Oat Squares. That's too many.
New Cinnamon Quaker Oat Squares. You'll love them.
From Square One.
You get chicken, how about sirloin? Grab all the ribs that you can purloin. Be my little barbecue tonight. Any old time, any old weather, we'll start the fire by rubbing up together. Be my little barbecue tonight.
The Black Angus Barbecue Platter. A great deal of steak, chicken, and baby back ribs. Now only $9.95. But get them while they're hot.
And now some words of value. Oldsmobile, Cutlass, Supreme. But hurry, they're going fast. For more information, see your Oldsmobile dealer today.
As cars get older, they may need higher and higher octane to perform like they used to. But there is a gasoline specially formulated to control this higher octane need while providing the highest level of engine cleanliness. Texaco System 3. You'll get great performance in every octane grade.
Still think all gasolines are the same?
If you think you can't afford music and art lessons for your child, you haven't heard of the Los Angeles Music and Art School.
We know. We went there.
Hi, I'm Rayford Johnson, urging you to support the AMIE Cancer Fund for Children. Call 213-655-5173 to help.
President Bush says he may be open to compromise on a recent and highly controversial U.S. Supreme Court decision. Now, you may recall that the High Court upheld its ruling on family planning. It prohibits federally funded clinics from even discussing the medical option of abortion with patients. Now, the president says he will not change his fundamental position on the issue, but he would like to work something out with members of Congress. Many of them are trying to overturn that ban.
Well, as we told you earlier, President Bush today announced that sanctions against South Africa had done their jobs. In his very independent opinion tonight, Bill Press notes a certain irony, that a president who says sanctions worked in one country insisted that sanctions would not work in another. Bill.
That's right, Ross. But first, South Africa. 5 years ago, Vice President George Bush was first to oppose putting economic sanctions on South Africa. Today, President Bush was first to support lifting economic sanctions from South Africa. What do you know? He was wrong then, and he's wrong now.
And I have today just signed and issued an executive order terminating the sanctions against South Africa.
President Bush said lifting sanctions was justified because South Africa had complied with all 5 conditions laid down by Congress. No, no, no. At best, conditions have been only partially met. At worst, they've been replaced with something just as bad. 3 examples. Condition 1, release all political prisoners. Sure, the most famous one is free, but according to the South African Human Rights Commission, 800 to 900 political prisoners remain behind bars. Number 2, yes, Other political parties, like the ANC, are now officially recognized. But so what? Black South Africans still can't vote or run for public office. 3, the Group Areas Law, requiring certain races to live only in certain towns, has been banned nationwide. But communities can still segregate housing according to race, and do. What that means is, for Black South Africans, nothing has changed in their day-to-day lives. They can't vote, they can't own property except in black townships. They still suffer the daily insult of segregated schools, jobs, neighborhoods, parks, trains, buses, and hospitals. In South Africa, blacks are no more free today than they were 5 years ago.
All good reasons for not lifting sanctions against South Africa. But you know, there is one other lesson to be learned here, a lesson so obvious, so self-evident, even George Bush should get it. Why are we even having this debate over whether sanctions have done enough? Here's the lesson, don't miss it, because sanctions do work. Over time, sanctions have worked to change the course of South Africa. Give them more time, sanctions would do even more. That's the lesson. Sanctions do work. Economic sanctions are effective against South Africa. Economic sanctions would have proved even more effective against Iraq. Too bad we never gave them a chance.
Tonight, if you're in the mood for some heavy-duty fun, get moving to the chart-topping New Jack Swing of God with their special guest, Heavy D. Stay up and play! Then hear the courageous story of pro football legend Lyle Alzado. It's all happening tonight, so stay up for the next Arsenio Hall Show.
Tonight at 11 on Channel 13.
Hi, do you know me? I'm Mike Sosha, and this is Howard's. 3 generations have passed up the chain stores to experience Howard's quality.
Step up to KitchenAid quality at Howard's sale prices. This KitchenAid dishwasher with Energy Saver, multi-level wash, and all porcelain interior is built to last. Howard's sale price just $419.
And don't forget Howard's revolving charge. I won't leave home plate without it. Howard's, the people-pleasing team since 1946.
There's a Stroud behind Stroud's.
When the customer walks into our store, her first assumption may be that we're expensive because of the way we look. But we may look expensive, but we're not. We shop our competitors weekly to ensure that we offer every day the lowest prices that you will find anywhere. We don't think of ourselves as a discount store, even though our prices are everyday low prices. Whatever the customer's budget is, they can be assured they'll get the best value for their money.
This portion of the news brought to you by your Southern California Mazda dealers.
You couldn't have dreamed of a better time to save than this. The Mazda Summer Savings Express is here, and the savings are going fast and furious. Mazda Value Packs can save you as much as $2,575. Limited time incentives can save you up to $2,000. But hurry, these savings are meant to move fast. That was fast.
At your local Mazda dealer now.
Tomorrow is the big event, and there is a 50% chance that our weather will provide us with a clear view of the eclipse in the coastal communities. As we reported a little earlier by Larry Atterbury, here is a live shot out at the ocean. The gravitational pull of the moon and sun causing unusually high tides in the LA Outer Harbor, measuring up to 7.2 feet. Now, the tidal overflow will only cause a threat to the low-lying coastal areas if accompanied by local storms or heavy surf and swells from distant storms. Now, the astronomical tides, which range from 4.5 to 7.2 feet, will last until late Saturday. Right now at the LA Civic Center, 65 degrees, mostly clear skies, moderate winds. Today, the temperature downtown reached a high of 76 after an overnight low of 63. Tonight, the marine layer will produce overcast skies. Lows will be in the 50s and 60s, and in Palm Springs tonight, 78 degrees. Tomorrow, the burn-off will take a little longer, especially in the southern valleys. Winds will reach 10 to 15 miles per hour. Beaches will have highs in the 60s, and temperatures will range from the 70s all the way up to the 90s in the valleys. Air quality will range from the good to unhealthful levels in the LA basin tomorrow. Here's the 5-day forecast. Partly cloudy skies in the coastal sections at least, brighter skies further inland, and this will be the pattern for the next 5 days. The highs will range in the low to mid-80s, and some very good places, by the way, to view that eclipse are in the mountain areas and in the high and low deserts, but make sure you use that protective eyewear.
Yeah, very careful with that. A woman in upstate New York found out the hard way that Entertainment Tonight co-host Mary Hart can be hazardous to her health. A neurologist says that he has proof the woman, or when the woman hears Hart's voice, it triggers epileptic seizures.
Going into a seizure now, you could see the right side of the brain, that rhythmic discharge that's coming, that's the epileptiform discharge.
Dr. Venkat Ramani says that his patient starts rubbing her stomach, holding her head, and gets a faraway look in her eyes every time Hart talks. But he says Hart shouldn't take it personally.
It could have been anyone else. She doesn't have any personal animosity, and although she does not want to watch the program.
One epilepsy expert says the quality and pitch of Hart's voice are to blame. A spokesman for Entertainment Tonight had only this comment, said it sounds like a serious medical matter. Well, imagine what would have happened if she'd watched hard copy, for instance. Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley is turning into a real tough guy with a little help from a muscle-bound friend. Called them Terminators 2, I guess. The mayor and actor Arnold Schwarzenegger don't want to hear any excuses. They want you to come to this week's opening of the 10-day U.S. Olympic Festival.
You want to see the U.S. Olympic Festival? Hasta la vista, baby.
If you don't come to the opening ceremony of the Olympic Festival, you're terminated. I'll be back.
Which is which? The star of Terminator 2 is lending his support to help promote the event. Nearly 4,000 American athletes will be showing us what they can do at the 11th annual festival, many of them hoping to make the Olympics. Now, this is the first time Los Angeles is hosting the festival. The opening torch-lighting ceremony at Dodger Stadium starts at 8 o'clock on Friday nights.
And while we're on the subject of big guys, if you joined us last night, you saw the underwater birth of baby Shamu, the killer whale. Tonight, we move to dry land to watch the birth of an Asian elephant. Now, those of you who have not gone through LeMay's training might want to turn away for a few seconds. Veterinarians quickly pull the 220-pound bouncing baby boy from underfoot. Zookeepers in Syracuse, New York say the little guy appears to be quite healthy. His mother, Romani, seems to like her new role. She is one of an endangered species. They rarely breed in captivity, and there are only about 50 Asian elephants that have been born in North America.
Well, we've got some other kind of sports coming up next. Tony Hernandez will be joining us. He says the fight you've been waiting for, well, it's a done deal now. And if you're a golfer looking for a tee time, remember, patience is a virtue. Last night, of course, was the Major League All-Star Game. Tonight, Tom Oro's Stars, tomorrow's Stars, for their talents on display. Tony Hernandez has all the sports coming up next.
Spring into action. Spring into cable. Right now, installation is only $6.95. That's right, just $6.95 when you call 1-800-CABLE-UP and order a premium service. HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, the Movie Channel, Disney Channel, Sports Channel LA. What do you want to see? Movies? Cable's got classics to blockbusters. You can laugh or you can cry. With Cable, catch the home games and exclusive playoff action. Or maybe you like sports that pack a little more punch. Cable also lets you keep up with world events because only Cable covers the globe to bring you news 24 hours a day. With Cable, you get more than 40 channels of information and entertainment. So call 1-800-CABLE-UP now for your $6.95 installation. Call today. Get a 30-day money-back guarantee, an extra $20 worth of cable value, even a free Pizza Hut pizza. But you have to call now. So call 1-800-CABLE-UP and spring into cable for just $6.95.
soft drink.
Excuse me, sir. Are you waiting for the doors to open here at Silo tomorrow?
No, not exactly.
Not trying to be first in line for those big savings on top-brand electronics and appliances?
No, not me.
Come on, sir. A little greed's nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm not ashamed. Greedy.
What are you waiting here for?
The car died.
Oh, yeah? Lucky you had the coffee, donuts, and the Silo ad to read.
The newspaper just happens to be open there.
I see you got some items circled.
It's a ring from the coffee.
Red coffee?
Jelly donut.
Silo. Televisions, audio, and appliances.
Okay, it is that time when it's Tony Hernandez time here for sports.
And all you pay-per-view fans, get your checkbooks out.
Oh, again, huh?
Yes. It is official. Mike Tyson gets his chance to win back the heavyweight title. Tyson will fight champion Evander Holyfield at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas on November 8th in what is already being touted as the highest grossing bout in boxing history. Holyfield will get a guaranteed $30 million. Tyson as challenger will receive $15 million. Where does this leave George Foreman, who was expecting to get a rematch with Holyfield on that same November 8th date? It leaves Big George holding the cheeseburger. The National League enjoyed revenge over the American League in tonight's All-Star game. What does it matter that it was the AAA Minor League All-Star Contest? A chance to introduce you to some future big league hotshots. Hey, wait a minute. We've already seen this act somewhere else, haven't we? Yes. The American Leaguers jumped in front with 3 runs in the second inning. One on this hit by Oklahoma City's Monty Ferris. He's a Texas Rangers prospect. But Andujar Cedeno of the Tucson Toros, an Astros affiliate, pulled the Nationals to within 3-2 on this solo blast to right. By the 8th, the game was tied at 4 when another Toro, Gary Cooper, now that's a big league name, smashed a 2-run double off the blue monster in right, 6-4 Nationals. Now we'll show you a guy with a big league glove. Jeff Gardner of the Mets Tidewater Tides gets horizontal to make a dazzling catch. In the end, the National League minor leaguers bested their American League counterparts 6-5. The Rocket has officially been grounded. Rocket Ishmael will miss the Toronto Argonauts season opener. Ishmael missed his new team's first 2 preseason games, and there reportedly were rumblings from his teammates. Now that he's going to miss a regular season game, more rumblings. But Ishmael says he's not worried.
Unless I was told that face-to-face, I don't give any weight to those. All of the players that I talked to have all been basically, do what it takes to get well. We understand your position. We understand that you're frustrated. You want to get out there, and it's just a matter of time. Don't rush anything that can be taken care of now, and it can prevent prolonging the injury.
America's Greg LeMond is the leader after today's 5th stage of the Tour de France. Today's leg, 92 miles, but ironically, the leader, Rolf Sorensen, took a spill about 2.5 miles from the finish. There was great confusion at the finish line about where Sorensen finished and on whose bike he finished, his or a teammate's. When all was said and done, Sorensen was ruled to be the leader, but it's a moot point because he broke his left collarbone in the spill and is taking himself out of the race. LeMond is the leader by default. So, you say you like to golf? Hopefully you like to wait, because as Artie Ojeda reports, you'll end up doing a lot of both at city courses.
Another beautiful day for a relaxing round of 18. Unfortunately, a lot of golfers are finding their peaceful round is more like a boring hurry-up-and-wait routine.
How long have you been waiting to get a tee time out here?
About 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. What would possess somebody to wait 3.5 hours?
I think pure obsession. I think there's no other excuse.
Well, it can be real frustrating for the players.
How frustrating? Well, just try to get a tee time at an LA City golf course. And once you do, hope you have some time to kill.
It usually takes me about 3 hours and 45 minutes, but today I'm looking at about 4.5 hours to play.
Call it the ill side effects of golf's booming popularity. More players, longer rounds, longer waits.
It can be upsetting because they're out here to have fun, and they get to the point where they feel like, well, I'm going to kill somebody if I don't have fun, you know.
It's gotten so crowded, the city has gone to a reservation system. For $25, you can buy a reservation card and basically become a priority customer. You and about 60,000 others. The problem, as they see it here, is most people act like pros, but play like, well, hacks.
It's a matter of managing your play, knowing the etiquette and the rules of the game.
Translation, you're not playing in the Masters. Have fun, but courtesy and fast play makes a round of 18 much more relaxing. At Griffith Park, Artie Ojeda, News 13.
I don't feel so badly now that I gave up golf. You have to wait that long to play.
All right, Tony. We will be right back with more news in just a minute.
Hi, do you know me? I'm Mike Sosha, and this is Howard's. Employee owners who believe the customer always comes first.
Catch this Maytag double play on America's #1 preferred brand. A Maytag large capacity washer teamed with a dryer. Have both delivered and installed tomorrow. Howard's sale price just $799.
And don't forget Howard's revolving charge. I won't leave home plate without it. Howard's, the people-pleasing team since 1946.
Blockbuster Video has a deal you can really sink your teeth into. It's free with 3. Rent any 3 videos and get a certificate for a free Subway sandwich. Start off with
Fasten Your Seatbelt. The best buddy cop movie of the year. Tough and gritty, it fires with a full clip. Clint Eastwood, Charlie Sheen, The Rookie. Rated R from Warner Home Video.
Get your free Subway sandwich when you rent any 3 videos. Now at Blockbuster Video.
On April 17, 1991, after conducting an independent evaluation of national weight loss companies, the respected San Francisco Chronicle said this about Jenny Craig. Of the leading national programs, the food rated highest in taste, texture, and appearance. The cost was reasonable. Overall, the program included all the components that contribute to successful weight loss. Thank you, San Francisco Chronicle. Here's more good news. Lose all you want for just a $39.50 service fee. Call 1-800-76-JENNY.
The point of a town hall meeting is to bring people together.
To get you involved in the decisions that affect your life.
To give you access to the people who shape your future.
To better educate you on the issues.
Town hall does all this and more.
You know what you want. You know where to get it. The really big thing from El Pollo Loco. 12, 16, or 24 pieces of fresh, tender chicken, marinated and grilled over an open flame with enough extra goodies for any party at less than $2.50 a person. The one and only taste of El Pollo Loco chicken.
President Bush is reappointing Federal Reserve Board Chairman Alan Greenspan to another 4-year term. Greenspan's first term expires in a month. Now, White House insiders say the president called the impromptu news conference today to counter speculation that he might not reappoint Greenspan because of the 10-month recession and differences in economic philosophy. Greenspan's nomination still has to be approved by the Congress.
And that is our report for this Wednesday night. Lyle Alzado coming up next on Arsenio Hall.
Be careful, but enjoy the eclipse tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow night.